World War I was the product of a thought system that assumed that fighting and bloodshed were an essential law of nature. Even after the war ended, this philosophy lived on. Because it did not die, it went on to plant the seed of an even larger, more terrifying war. Germany was at the center of this great threat. The Treaty of Versailles that ended World War I imposed on Germany a very heavy financial burden of compensation. Even as the nation struggled to recover from the effects of the war, it began to fall into a serious economic crisis. Competing political groups took to fighting in the streets. In the midst of this chaotic atmosphere, a fanatical political movement began to rise. This was the Nazi Party led by Adolf Hitler. Nazism was nothing but an interpretation of social Darwinism. Hitler had already adopted the racial struggle to survive view, which was the basis of Darwin's theory. According to Hitler, the Aryan race of the German people was at the top rung of the evolutionary ladder, and it had the right to rule over other races. In order to make this view a reality, they needed another war, a war that would make Germany the ruler of the whole world. Brutal, ambitious leaders were leading this movement. The situation of these leaders was explained as follows in the Quran. Whenever he holds the upper hand, he goes about the earth corrupting it, destroying people's crops and breeding stock. God does not love corruption. Then, is it to be expected of you, if you assumed power, that you will cause corruption in the earth and sever your ties of kinship? Nazism started another world war in 1939. Nazi armies occupied Poland through a sudden attack. Germany brought Poland to its knees in only 3 weeks. Poland's capital, Warsaw, was bombed mercilessly and many civilians died. The entire world was huddled in fear, waiting to see what the next target would be. The German General Staff was making plans for new attacks. Meanwhile, another totalitarian power took the first step towards war. The Soviet Union ruled by Stalin's bloody dictatorship. Stalin and Hitler signed the Non-Aggression Pact in August 1939. They reached an agreement to share Poland, but this was not to satisfy Stalin. With a sudden attack, the Red Army invaded the Baltic states of Latvia, Estonia, and Lithuania. Then they moved towards the north and occupied Finland. This attack claimed over 250,000 lives. With a new attack launched in April 1940, Hitler's troops occupied Denmark, Norway, Belgium, and the Netherlands. German armies entered France via Belgium in May 1940. Tens of thousands of civilians started fleeing their homes out of fear of Nazi violence. On June 13, German armies marched into the streets of Paris. Hitler posed for photographs in front of the Eiffel Tower. In the months to come, Germany went on to invade Bulgaria, Yugoslavia, and Greece. All of entire Europe was being crushed under Hitler's boots. Germany's largest plan for occupation was against one-time ally Russia. This plan, codenamed Operation Barbarossa, began with a sudden attack on June 22, 1941. The German army moved quickly, and within 12 weeks, they had invaded Kiev. 1 month later, they were at the outskirts of Moscow. The next 3 years witnessed the unfolding of a horrific war between Nazi Germany and the Soviet Union. This conflict, which became the bloodiest war in all of history, claimed the lives of over 30 million people. Both of the sides fighting in this war, Nazism and communism, committed terrible crimes against humanity. The ideologies fighting in this war were trying to realize their own plans and expectations, although they had no moral or humanitarian cause. Towards their ends, they allowed the killings of millions of people. Supporting such cruelty, which recognizes no boundaries, is strictly forbidden in the Quran. Do not obey the orders of the profligate, those who corrupt the earth and do not put things right. World War II was more than just a war. It was also a concerted effort to commit massacres and genocide. This initiative was based on Hitler's racist living space policy.
Deutsche Jugend! Deutsche Mädchen! Unser Reichspräsident, General Feldmarschall von Hindenburg!
Hitler claimed that Germany's current territory was not enough for the German people and that the Aryan race was being squeezed on this land. He thus argued that they had to occupy the Eastern European countries and turn these places into Lebensraum, or living space, for Germans. The tens of millions of people already living on these lands faced cruel massacres. The Nazi armies perpetrated enormous massacres in every region they occupied in Eastern Europe.